Women who have ever utilized the service of a male prostitute. What was the experience like? I was at a very low point in my life while I was living in Mexico. Mexico has an abundance of sex work and prostitution. I paid a male prostitute just to cuddle and have him listen to my feelings. It was a good experience. I was just out of marriage that had turned sexless for the final years, and my sex drive came back with a vengeance. I had a terrible Tinder date that made me feel super unsafe. So I booked a sex worker. He was delightful and lovely, and I felt safe and in control. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I saw him twice, then met my partner shortly thereafter, but it was a great experience, and I was so happy I did it. As a male prostitute / sex worker, it's rare to get hired for a simple one-on-one interaction, and it's more for things like birthdays, bachelorette parties, etc. But when I do get hired one-on-one, it's more for people who want the experience instead of desperate or things like that. My boss hires them for herself all the time, and as her I have to book the guy. She uses him so regularly we just call his personal number, and he knows me by name. Nice guy tbh. Reading the comment section is difficult. I'm going to offer an answer. Though I have never paid for male escorts, a fairly well-off and incredibly attractive friend of mine has. She has a high-powered career and is traveling the majority of the year. Her sights are focused on building her career as quickly as possible, so she doesn't currently have time for a relationship. She has paid for male escorts several times a year. Her reasoning is that she would rather have no strings attached sex with a professional rather than risk being disappointed and go through the motions of getting ready for a night out, going to the bar, etc. She explained to me that efficiency and reliability is everything. She is able to request an up-to-date STD test prior to the date and can expect complete discretion. All you people saying women shouldn't have to pay for sex are valid. But if you want some quality control, it makes sense to pay a premium. I'm a female SWA who is bisexual. I have hired other female providers for myself in the past, but a few years ago, I decided to book a male escort. I booked a dinner date. It was hilarious because he worked for an agency and he knew nothing about me, save my name. I had been seated at the bar while the table was being prepared, and he walked past me twice. He thought I was going to be some weird older lady, so he said. We had a nice dinner. He was a true gentleman. We did end up having sex. He was exceptionally good looking, but had a huge dick. I prefer a more average size. It's much more comfortable for me. I did reveal I was also an escort, and we had a good laugh. For anyone who needs to look it up, FSSW equals full service sex worker. They have these sort of gigolos in exotic vacation areas like Jamaica, for example, that cater to older, wealthier women who are looking for the whole 9 yards, not just sex. It's the company, romance and sex they are paying for. This sort of thing is rare as you can imagine, but there are women looking for a good time with company and an exotic male to do it with, as the women themselves may be single or something. Yep. In Egypt as well, in the beachy areas, older British women, mid-40s and up, will hire a young, early 20s Egyptian buck as her boyfriend for the 1 to 2 weeks she's on vacation. He pretends to be her boyfriend, lavishes her with attention, buys her flowers and takes her out to dinner and out dancing, paying, of course, with the money she is providing. And yes, sex. She pays handsomely compared to the local wages, but not so much in terms of British wages. I thought it was bullshit till I saw it with my own eyes. There is no way these British women were just randomly dating these young guys. And frankly, no way some 20-year Egyptian guy is paying exorbitant Western prices out of his own pocket in some tourist bar just to flirt with some middle-aged tourist. No ducking way. Definitely the she's paying vibe. Similar, but not exactly the same, to when you see some super old dude with a college-age woman hanging all over him. I worked with an Egyptian guy, and after about 4 weeks working together told me that he used to be a gigolo. I, like all normal men, couldn't believe women would be paying someone I know for sex. Then he showed me a picture of him when he was 12 years younger, a scuba diving instructor, handsome, ripped to shreds, and all these pictures of him with Russian, Ukrainian and Balkans women pre-2008 crash. all 30 to 45 years old. He would take them out scuba diving in the day. At night he would wine and dine them. At night, to quote him, eat out until my jaw hurt. Said he was making 4 times more money than his brother, who was a corrupt policeman. He left Egypt post-financial crisis and went into engineering full-time. He spent 6 months living with a Russian lady in Egypt, whose husband had died 2 years previously. She was 66 and just wanted some 6FD3 arm candy to take her dancing. 4 meals and, to quote him, throw her around like a rag doll and enjoy what little time she had left in her hips. She gave him $50,000 as a tip on top of his fee by way of thanks when her children demanded she came home to deal with the last of the father's estate rather than spending his hard stolen money on Egyptian men. A good friend was a male escort. Most his gigs were by very attractive yet professional ladies that didn't want to deal with the hubbub of dating. He was a legit escort, so no sex was implied. He'd get hired for parties and occasions where a date coming would be appropriate. He also mentioned if they struck his fancy and offered a tip at the end of the night, sex wasn't out of the question. I considered it a few times, but never went through with it. It was a time in my life that I was feeling very insecure about my body and decided that if I was ever going to experience sexual pleasure again, I had better damn well pay for it to at least make it worthwhile for the male. Obligatory, not what you asked for, but I've always wanted to hire a prostitute, as I see it as my only possibility to get laid. I haven't once in my life been hit on, flirted with, given a compliment, or had any other sort of intimate or sexual contact with a man. And at 32, I long for it desperately, but realize it won't happen unless I pay someone for their services. The only reason I haven't done so yet is because buying sex is illegal here, and there are barely any straight male escorts anyway, at least not on the major escort classified sites. I wouldn't really have any expectations, and I don't even believe it'd be particularly good. I'd imagine the situation would be extremely awkward to me, and I could easily see it ending up with me just wanting to hang out for a while, cuddle and talk, and probably being happy with that. I'd really just want to be seen and touched by a man who at least would pretend that he enjoyed my company. I never had before, but it would probably be a better experience than going on Tinder / meeting some guy who will give you the bare minimum and leave when fear satisfied. I know I'm not a woman, but given the lack of real responses in here, my wife and I have hired a male sex worker on 2 occasions. We'd had a couple of regular, unpaid MFM threesomes previously, but they're hard to organize and kind of have to be a two-way street, if that makes sense. With the sex workers, we were able to explore ourselves more, a chance for me to see if I was as interested in experimenting with a guy IRL as I was in my head, and a chance for her to focus on her own pleasure from 2 guys without needing to try and satisfy them quite so much, which she had found distracting previously, and all with no strings. All told, we'd definitely do it again as we both got a lot out of the experience, but it's much harder to organize than a similar, paid, MFF3 score given the lack of people doing the job, and the males who do this sort of work have, in our experience, either been very straight, focused on the older wealthier female clientele mentioned in a lot of these replies, or very gay, and not wanting a woman in the room. As such, it's not something we've done for some time now, even though we'd like to. I should mention that we are from Australia, where this is all quite legal and reasonably safe for all concerned. Yes, I hired one in Thailand lol. It was a good experience. I'm a woman who dated one, Amma. He did mostly erotic massage, with some full service, and he said his clients were like 80/20 male to female, though he was mostly straight in his personal life. This was all going on while we were dating. I didn't mind his profession, was kinda into it, honestly, but he just wasn't all there. It's hard to describe. He was just needy / one a white knight wine away that made my skin crawl. To the men that keep saying women CNG at SX and YT me TY want like, okay, question mark, but what if she wants to come? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Reading the comments, I see a surprising need for professional, compassionate, sexually flexible male escorts. If I liked sex or people, I'd consider it. Lol. Here, you drop this. Serious. I don't think you're going to get a lot of responses for two big reasons. One, because the women who typically hire prostitutes, older with money, are probably not hanging out on Reddit. The other is because there's a lot of shame involved in a woman paying for sex. If you look at these comments, there are a lot of people talking about how women can get laid anytime they want and would never need to pay for it. If a woman were the type of person who would need to pay for it or want to, this probably isn't the place they'd feel comfortable admitting it. I want a professional who knows what he's doing. If I had the money, it would be on my terms. I'm so sick of fending off men that I don't want. I don't have any confidence at all and sick of being used. I'm disappointed by these answers, yet unsurprised. Reddit and all. I used to have such bad self-confidence / worth / etc. that I didn't even think I could pay anyone to sex me up. I also know of a couple people who would use the internet to even learn the proper name of their genitals. One once said they'd consider paying a male prostitute to show them how things work. Luckily, we've all gotten help and are in better places. The internet helped a lot. I don't think I'd mind a visit with one to learn more, so things aren't super duper awkward and potentially painful. Our society does a horrible job at teaching the basics, yet expects us all to just know how to make and pop out kids.